So the first lineup for the first game, and the honour goes to the hosts, Australia. A lot of experience internationally at youth level, not too much though at senior club level. What will be most important here? Strength and height at the back. Number 2 and more, number 4 Juric will be sweeping. Plenty of width and pace through number 7 Cranny, 5 Wingle and 13 Moric. But front players, number 9 Agostino and number 10 Milicic, are just starting to form a partnership. Will they hit it off against a very tough defence? Key figure there is Paul Agostino, one player playing in European competition in Switzerland with the young boys of Bern. He's only 17, but his extra experience and his sharpness up front, terribly important to Australia tonight. Well, the Colombians from a much stronger soccer background. They're all full-time players. They have technique, they certainly have tactical know-how, but a new coach appointed only 2 months ago has brought in 9 new players and lost 2 key performers through injury. Early on they'll be relying on the inspiration of goalkeeper Daniel Velez and number 7 Henry Zambrano, already a regular goal scorer at senior club level. Zambrano is a really wily character, doesn't look very strong, but he's very, very quick, and they're hoping not only will he be an inspiration as captain, but he'll take charge in the key area up front, certainly in those nervous moments. Well, a key figure in these occasions is always the officials. Referee Kim Nielsen from Denmark, an office manager. He's 32, not the youngest of the referees here, who's a Turk who's only 30. And his linesman here will be Gilberto Alcada from Mexico and Yingming Li from China. But the referee always a key influence in the opening match. He'll be setting guidelines and standards by FIFA, which will govern the rest of this tournament. So the preparation, the worry, the tension is over. The show starts now. The 7th World Youth Championship for the FIFA Coca-Cola Cup. Australia, the hosts, in their jungle shirts, as the players call them. Colombia qualified 3rd in the South American Championship in red and white. 2 emerging nations at international level. The first 10 minutes is critical. All the players like to have a touch. The pitch here in this magnificent Sydney football stadium is very, very good indeed. And Australia must make home advantage count. But it's a game of patience. They won't win the championship in the first 10 minutes, but they might beat Colombia. There's a chance, though, if they made things a little bit too quick, a little bit too hasty, they could lose it. So let's look at the pattern of things. Down the line from Muscat. Hard work there by Milicic and Agostino. And an infringement. And this is going to be whistled in. A test for the outstanding goalkeeper Velez. The Australian coach Les Shineplug said, if you can get the ball into the penalty area early on, get it in there and fight for it and see what they're like under pressure. There's Winkle, wide to Moric. Moric has done well, good play. Carboni does well to get it wide. Into Muscat and away by Ortegon. Pereira, big strong number 8, playing in front of the Colombian back line. Hacks it away, but another infringement. Moreno the culprit here. So the shape is just beginning to emerge. It looks pretty tight in midfield as Pereira does well. Good play. Moreno. Cranny gets in there, work with Moreno going forward. Zambrano was in there in support, but it's whacked away by the sweeper, Ante Juric. They can't link up with the front players. Good neat play. Gonzalez on the left. He's quick, but not quite quick enough for that. So Gonzalez on the left. On the right, there will be Lopez trying to support two front men for Colombia, and then they gang up in midfield. One of the most difficult selections for Les Scheinflug, the Australian coach, was who went in goal. Vince Matassa's got the bet here, but Frank Juric was a very strong contender. This is an area where Australia has a lot of contenders, and with Kevin Muscat leading by example down that right hand side, not with his pass though. They looked in a promising situation there, and forward goes Milicic. Good defending by Pereira, and a good break here. Zamorano, he loses it. This is good, and that's a foul on Cranny. And they've taken it quickly. Sekenis knocks it wide to Wingle. He loses it. Now they might be in a bit of trouble here as Colombia break fast. Zamorano's in the middle if they get it to him. Oh, it wasn't a good ball. Agostino knocks it back to the strong running Carbone. On the right hand side he's got Cranny, but he's marked up tight, so holds it well. No sign of nerves here in this Australian side. I think as we look at it, we begin to assume that they're playing like men, but remember, 17, 18 and 19 only. Restrepo, wearing 16, has been busy in midfield already for Colombia. Picked it by Moreno, but the control wasn't good enough, and it's well robbed by Craig Moore, the youngest of the Australian players. And he shows great calmness, bringing Juric into the game. It's good the way the Australians are knocking it around. They're all getting a touch, they're all getting a little bit more confidence. Can they build up and get a bit of supply to the front men Agostino and Milicic? A little bit scruffy there. Pereira looks strong. He's helped by Moreno, but it's too tight. Oh, Pereira gets through again. And a very optimistic shot that will give Vince Matassa a little bit of confidence. He'll feel those all day. Good play, knocked it back into Moric, but tight marking by the Colombians. Once again, they're hunting in packs. They close the space down. They don't worry too much when they haven't got possession. Not a good ball forward to the front men. Agostino is running all over the place, but he's so far got no service. And that's a foul by Mark Wingle. And complaints by Zamorano. Born in England, and some would say that's a bit of an English tackle. Nicely brought down by Muscat, but again, interception by Thierry Dentro, the tall, skinny number 3. Pereira, strong player. Gonzalez, can he keep it in? He's up against Cranny. Cranny does well. He's a great athlete. He'll run all day, and he works superbly there. Carbone. Keep the tempo up. Keep possession. Be patient. That's a good run down the left by Mark Wingle, but the pace of the ball just a little bit too quick for him. He wasn't in control, but they've won it back by good aggression. Muscat, survivor of course of the fine Portuguese side, the side that played in Portugal 2 years ago. Getting into the game, but sometimes his passes forward aren't too good, although that was a tackle from behind, penalised. Moric wide to Wingle. Moric running well on the left-hand side. Down he goes. Free kick. No. That was a dive, according to the Danish referee. It's very dry here, and the pace of the ball quite considerable. A little bit too quick for some of the players. But first game, a lot of tension. Things usually slow down a little bit and more often than not improve in technique. Free kick to Australia. Wingle on the left. Lopez gets at him with help from the busy and solid number 8 of Colombo Pereira. Wingle down the line, easily cut out. Ortegon, one of the markers at the back. Free kick. The referees have been asked to be very strict on tackles from behind, the 4-step rule from goalkeepers, and getting back the required 10 paces from the wall. Nipped forward by Moore. It's not a bad ball, and out comes Velez to pinch it from Agostino. It was nicely chipped forward there from the back, and Velez had to move very, very quickly. That's a very, very big boot by Daniel Velez. Gonzalez then for Colombia. Tight marking by Australia. Little space for Tierra Dentro. He manages to get it away to Pereira. Pereira wide to Lopez. Lopez supporting on the right-hand side. Forward goes Moreno. And well policed over the line. Australia still insisting, quite rightly, that they should knock it around, make Colombia do some running. Bit of a misunderstanding there between Moric and Wingle. Little flick, beautifully done, but well covered by 17-year-old Craig Moore. With the South American skills there, but some quick thinking by an old head on a young body. So 10 minutes gone, very few chances, no goals. Again, the marking is tight. We haven't really got any pattern into the game. Craig Moore a little bit too over-enthusiastic with that challenge. And a free kick here to Colombia. Well practiced in set pieces, a lot of skills in this area, but this I think is too far away. Let's throw in only. Flags up, ball is out, and it's a little bit fragmented here. Pereira, who's been so far in what has been an interesting but fairly uneventful first 10 minutes, one of the stronger forces in midfield. Hard one for Wingle as he's challenged. Coolness to get it away. Moric to Milicic. Well, the first one didn't get him, but the second one did. Been suffering from a pelvic injury. He really hasn't played a full game for too long, and he might not last this one, but they must get him some better service. Here's the free kick, going to be taken by Mark Wingle. Big fellas in the penalty area. Can they make their height count? They can't. Milicic doesn't control it. He's looking a little bit nervous. Away by Zambrano. Muscat back to Juric, the sweeper, calmly relayed to Wingle. Again, Milicic can't get hold of it. Tierra Dentro just knocks it forward to Restrepo. Tierra Dentro loses it. Agostino's working hard. And the sweeper at the back, Quintero for Colombia. That's a hopeful ball forward, and a challenge which the referee didn't like by Craig Moore. Australia have had a magnificent preparation for this. 31 international games in various continents. But all that preparation means nothing if they can't settle into a pattern, can forget their early nerves, and they appear to be doing that. But Colombia, strong defence and happy to get as many players as possible, as quickly as possible behind the ball. Juric coming forward from the back. Kevin Muscat. Cranny. And that was a bad challenge by Gonzalez, and that's a yellow card. Very important that the referees, as FIFA decreed early on, show their authority and certainly have a serious drive against the tackle from behind, and they've done it here. That's the first yellow card. And all the Colombians have got behind the ball, and it doesn't matter much because too many nerves, too many hasty passes, and Socceroos and company through midfield can't link up with the front men. And so far, Daniel Velez hasn't really been tested, and we haven't yet seen whether he's as good a goalkeeper as young Higuita was. Probably the most famous Colombian goalkeeper at the moment. And that's a breakaway as Restrepo gets forward. He was hacked out by Juric. But it's a Colombian throw. There's urgency here as Gonzalez gets it forward to Zambrano. Nicely knocked away despite the fact that he was under pressure. Well won by Carboni. That was a good tackle. Agostino shows a little bit of experience getting away from a challenge. Muscat to Carboni. It's getting pretty physical out there, but Carboni can look after himself. 15 minutes of the game gone. Still no score and still no real chances. A decent ball though to Mark Wingle from Craig Moore, and Wingle does well. Now he's got a good left foot. Can he cross it in well? Not quite good enough. Here goes Carbone. Agostino knocks it back. Muscat with a drive. That's better. That's the best move. Would have been better perhaps on his right foot, but that's much more encouraging. Good cross from the left, started it all off. It wasn't particularly well cleared, and Australia getting a lot of players up to support. To Restrepo, forward to Pereira. Is big Juric getting forward again, and that's another useful ball to Ante Milicic. Agostino's got into the middle. Ante Milicic. Again, the cross wasn't quite good enough, it was too deep, but they're getting players forward in numbers now. Carbone. Good recovery, good tackle, but Australia are getting into their stride here. And this is the first corner of the game. The orders from coach Les Scheinflug are to get as many big fellas in there as possible. It's going to be taken by Ante Moric, and this is going to be a test for Colombia. Get it into the goal area, get some big guys in there and see what they're made of. In it goes, and out it goes again from Ortegon, and it's another corner for Australia. They've worked hard at these. Now it's Peter Socceroos who's going to take it. But once more, the big guys up there, Moore and Juric. And it's away by Restrepo. And for the moment, the heat off. But this is much more encouraging now for Australia. As Agostino coming off his man, controls well, awkward ball, but he's outnumbered. Juric a bit of time. He's cool, but too cool, he almost lost it. Well, he gets himself out of a hole very well, and calmness keeps possession for Australia. They've got over the early nerves, they're beginning to play. Muscat. Carbone couldn't quite get there. Pereira, challenged by Sikinis, walked down on the edge of the area. Now then, Australia certainly got a chance. Free kick. Look at this for a challenge as Sikinis came in, little touch, and the referee spotted it, and it's a yellow card. The second for Colombia. For the sweeper, Quintero. And the number 12, Gonzalez. So a protest and a challenge. The referee really imposing his authority here, and he's bringing the wall a long way back. This is going to be a real chance for Australia. And again, if they don't get back quickly, they get booked. But they're back to the satisfaction as Moritz shoots. Well, he hangs his head in shame. I don't know what amount of the target he could see from there. This is a better view, but head up, drove it too hard instead of placing it miles too high. So better play there for Australia. Half a chance, but Colombia, 3 bookings already. And there might be another one there if they continue challenges like that for Australia that time. Well, clumsiness more than anything. Strepper with a kick. Some big guys got into the middle like Pereira. Not good enough at all. Well held up by Milicic, and another foul despite the fact that there was a breakaway. The referee's whistle had gone. Well, the crowd felt that advantage should have been played there, but no, it's important that he stops these things. 20 minutes gone. No score, but things looking better for the hosts. Wingle on the left to Moric. Nice little foot in there by Ortegon. Pass down the right hand side for Zamorano that he can't possibly get. Juric to Carbone. Carbone having to work hard on that one. I think the most encouraging thing for Australia and coach Les Scheinflug is that they've showed patience. They didn't play particularly well to begin with, but they're building up here. Zamorano knocks it wide to Lopez. Zamorano on that right hand side. Dangerous player. 2 against 1, and he's beaten. But Colombia still have possession as Pereira tries to knock it in. Zamorano again, that's a good ball. Well covered by Muscat, and well cleared too. A spark of life from Colombia, and the Australian captain is there in exactly the right place. Here comes Restrepo. In the middle to Moreno. Moreno turns, and forward goes Gonzalez. Good challenge. Franny is coming back to cover there, and a first corner for Colombia. Some of their big guys are pushed forward. It's important that Australia keep their discipline here, and they nearly didn't. That was a good one as Moreno came to the near post, and although he got a good clean header to it, it was well over the top. But that was good play by Colombia, not such good marking. Somebody should have been in front of him. Putting a little bit of pressure on them. Colombia not giving the Australia backline as much space as they did earlier in the game to knock it about. But they're doing it well. Peter Socceroos slowly getting into the game. We had a fairly anonymous first 15 minutes. This is more encouraging though, as Muscat gets down the right. Not a good return from Cranny, easily intercepted by Tierra Dentro. Picked up by Moreno. Pereira. Lopez wide on the right. Now they're coming forward in numbers. Craig Moore with a good interception, but it's Tierra Dentro. Forward again, but because the challenge came in, it wasn't a considered pass. It wasn't a considered piece of clearing though. It's picked up, fortunately, by Milicic. Carbone tries to get through the middle, can't make it. And a good battle going on in midfield at the moment. Now it's Colombia who are looking a little bit more confident. Restrepo. And forward goes Zamorano. That's a fine ball. Zamorano's got pace here. He might be able to pull one back. He does, but it's covered by Moore and cleared sensibly and safely. But Zamorano showed a bit of pace down the right-hand side. It was a good ball to him. Chinese linesman making a point there, supported by the referee. Well, there's no real danger there, although there's a little bit of excitement. And again, sensible covering, and the danger over. So no real test so far for Vince Matassa in the Australian goal, and he won't be too unhappy about that. So Moore trying to get it forward, fortunately rebounds to a colleague, Peter Socceroos. That's a better ball to Wingle, getting him going down the left-hand side. A return from Moric. Can he get a good cross in? Not quite good enough. Couldn't pick anybody out. There's a packed penalty area. Colombia getting a lot of players back when there's any sign of danger, and now they're rushing forward. But 25 minutes gone, still the pace fairly frantic. Ooh, a bit of space there for Restrepo. And offside. And instructions from the captain. Carbone is working particularly hard in midfield. Moric coming in from the left-hand side. He too hasn't had a lot of service. Wingle usually uses the ball well, and he's done it well there. Moric trying his trick, doesn't quite get away with it, but does well to recover, gets possession. Socceroos gets through well. Good play by Peter Socceroos. Now he needs support, and there's a foul after the ball had been passed back. Good play by Peter Socceroos, winning an opportunity here. He gets away with it, and as he knocks the ball back, he's fouled after the ball had gone there. So free kick going to be taken by Ante Moric with a good left foot. Driven into the near post, and Cranny came in there and swung at it with his left foot but didn't connect, which is just as well for Colombia. Good recovery by Australia. Back in possession. Building up again. They look fit and strong, and they're looking reasonably confident in most areas. Midfield not very creative, but Socceroos and Carbone certainly coming into it more now. But for players like Cranny on the right-hand side and Moric on the left, not only have they got to attack down that right-hand side, but they've got to do a lot of recovery play when players like Gonzalez shuttle up and down those flanks. It's hard work. Milicic, nice one to Moric, who's come inside to help. Craig Moore forward, looking for Agostino. Knocked out by Ortegon. He pursues it himself, keeps it in, and Colombia in possession, and numbers over there. They hunt in packs everywhere. Don't often hit too many long ones. Quintero switching it to Gonzalez. Correa coming back and asking for possession. Well, a lot of possession here for Colombia, but Australia do the right thing. They don't rush in at the back. They make them knock it around, encourage them to hit it long, like that, and with any luck they should regain possession. No, it's Colombia still with it. Moreno. Sierra Dentro bundled off it. They're working hard in midfield, and they're harrying and chasing and pursuing, and Colombia can't build up well, but they've got nimble skills, and according to the linesman, that went out. I don't think Moreno will agree with that, but it's a decision for Australia. Sukenis now. Still patient, working hard on the left-hand side is Wingle if they can get the ball to him, but it's coming on the right-hand side for Carbone, and Cranny coming back, little space. Muscat, it's not a particularly good one, and again it's the hard-working Gonzalez who retrieves. Sprayed out by Pereira to Lopez. Restrepo to Zambrano. This is the danger man. Zambrano forward. Well recovered. Correa. And Colombia is beginning to look at something of a threat. At the beginning of the game they were only pushing one or two players forward. Now they're getting much more support for the two front men. But half an hour gone, still no score here in the Sydney Football Stadium for this opening game in this 7th World Youth Championship. It's often the way that the opening game has a little bit too much tension, a little bit too much defence, but there's plenty of time for this one to be opened up. Chase is on by Milicic with no real chance. Well, the Australian bench, of course there are 18 players in the full squad. All players are available, so there's a possibility of 2 from 7 substitutes. Well, agony there from the captain, and a card there for Craig Moore. The first booking for Australia. Again, strict interpretation of the law by the Danish referee. Well, Colombia suffered a blow before these finals began when they lost a couple of key players, midfield and up front. Zambrano still getting treatment. Well, how bad a foul was it? The ball knocked forward by Gonzalez. Away he goes, and he certainly took his ankles there. So for the moment, they're down to 10 men with Zambrano getting treatment on the touchline. He's come back onto the field of play now, so it's 11 against 11. It's interesting that so far we've had more than half an hour and we've had no real demonstration of the back pass rule, which FIFA incidentally are a bit concerned that one or two nations in South America are not pursuing as diligently as they should do, and they said they're determined to pursue it diligently here. But so far we've seen no sign of whether either side can handle it. And there's a little bit of frustration creeping in here from both sides, particularly the Australians, as Agostino knocks into Quintero, and a free kick to Colombia, which isn't particularly well taken. Well, there's a wonderful atmosphere here in Sydney. It's not a full stadium though, as you can probably see in the background. And the fact is, in Australia, if they put on a good performance and the build-up during the course of this championship, they'll have a million supporting them. But to begin with, they've got to prove a point. And Colombia are difficult opposition. Australia coach Les Scheinflug reckons that Colombia in this group are going to be the stronger force. But here comes Moric. Well knocked off it legally by Lopez. Forward by Restrepo here. Forward he goes again. Good challenge once more by Craig Moore. What a good game he's having. Good interception in midfield, but it's all a little bit untidy. And the back pass resisted there very nimbly as Gonzalez hacks it away. Wingler's in there. Moric needs support. He gets it. Always Craig Moore and Juric are there in good positions to help the midfield players. Moreno with a bit of space. He hasn't had much of that. Pereira is up there supporting him. Forward goes Moreno again. This is looking good for Colombia. Australia pulling players back to cover. Oh, and Zambrano's got a bit of space. This is dangerous. Zambrano! And he's in. He's scored. Colombia 1 up. A quality goal there from the Colombian captain. And 35 minutes into this first half, and Colombia are in the lead. And the flags fly. Well, Australia had most of the play, but there's quality performance here by their most experienced player. He's unmarked in the penalty area. He gets by Juric, and then he drives one on the near post. That's a disappointment, past goalkeeper Vince Matassa. To be beaten on the near post is definitely disappointing, but the marking there wasn't good. The finishing, though, was excellent. 1-0 to Colombia. Deflected, incidentally, by the captain. Have a look at the deflection as Muscat comes in. That's what put the goalkeeper off. A little touch. So the first goal in this 93 tournament, and it's scored by Colombia against the hosts. So can Australia come back? Now this is a test not only of skill but of character, and just after a side has scored, they say by tradition they're more vulnerable. Now Ante Moric with the big guys up there trying to make amends. Moric with a cross. Flicked on! Oh, and just wide. Ante Militic, good header, nice free kick. Good play. And just too strong. Goalkeeper was struggling there. He looks relaxed, but I don't think he'd have got it if it had been just inside the post. Muscat wins the header. Sakinis brings it down. Well, now the facts of life in a world-class competition. Australia, the hosts, are trailing by 1-0. It's not the end of the world, but they've got to keep their patience, and they've got to keep hold of players like Zambrano, who's got the pace. He was too tightly marked there by Wingle, and Zambrano's getting by his man. That's a good cross, and it was just knocked away by Muscat. They're wobbling here, Australia, and Colombia have their tails up. Picked up by Tierra Dentro. Zambrano turns again. He's full of tricks. Moric into trouble, out of trouble. Pursued by Lopez. Brought down by Lopez, but just a throw in. It's all harem scarum at the moment, and it's so important that Australia keep their cool. It's not the end of the road to be trailing by 1-0, but if they let Colombia in again, it might well be. Craig Moore. Wingle. Sakinis, just at a time when Australia are beginning to get a few things together, in midfield particularly. Nice little play. Agostino. Moric with the goal. Milicic with the hit. And that's brilliant play by Australia. And they're immediately back in it. Ante Milicic with a superb strike. And the gamble has paid off. Sakinis knocks it in. Agostino turns it. And it's whacked in beautifully here by Milicic. 1-1. And Australia right back in it. Lovely ball in by Sakinis. The touch off by Agostino. And the finish was terrific. Quality play here, just when their morale might have been a little bit dented, and they show they've got it to go far. So the gamble of playing Agostino and Milicic together has paid off wonderfully, because they combined with the help of Peter Sakinis, and they produced a very, very important equaliser. Restrepo. Zamorano gets it in. It's dangerous, but it's fortunately too strong. Well, a hero at the moment, a player who's so worried about this pelvic injury that he's had, dragging on for months. He's almost 4 months indeed out of the game. Hasn't played a full match for far, far too long, but he has quality in the penalty area, and he certainly showed it there. Big one now from Vince Matassa, and the atmosphere has changed completely here. The crowd now right behind them. Winning all the battles, and as we come up towards the half-time break, it's 1-1. Long throw now from Ante Moric. No, it's going to be left for Mark Wingle. Can they edge ahead here in the closing moments of the first half? Well, Colombia having trouble getting it away. Out to Wingle against Lopez. Lopez wins. Zambrano helps out, and the decision goes to Colombia. Well, it's an interesting situation because it had been tentative in the first 15 minutes. It began to open up a little bit in the second 15 minutes with Australia getting on top. Then some quality play from Zambrano in possession, put Colombia into the lead, but Australia have come back with real quality. Agostino loses out. Well won by Craigmore, good header. And Colombia start again from the back. It's Pereira who's pushed down that right-hand side, supporting the front man. He's a strong customer, but the decision for Australia. Just about 2 minutes to go before the half-time break. Another free kick for Australia, as Carbone is brought down. Oh, that's a hard one for Muscat to chase, and an even more difficult one for Sean Cranny, recovering from an ankle injury and blisters, but he's a fine athlete. Wins the ball there, then loses. Becoming very physical again in midfield, a little bit irritable. But a shot we didn't see after that little confrontation involving Paul Agostino was a handshake. So the show goes on in the right spirit. Well won by Dinas. It's a difficult one for Moreno, but he's there. He's got pace. Can he pick anybody out in the middle? Oh, it's deflected again. That's a difficult one. Coming inside, good strong left foot, good record of goal scoring. And that's quite a distance to try and beat a quality goalkeeper. Good catch. Good run by Gonzalez, covering by Muscat. Not sure that was a foul. It was. And Kevin Muscat, not the sort of guy to foul in those circumstances. He can certainly look after himself. Milicic closely marked by Dinas. The back pass, be careful. And Velez doing a Rene Higuita for the first time. Back he goes, rather hurriedly. Cool customer though. And there's the whistle for the end of the first half, which has certainly burst into life in the last few minutes. It started quietly, a certain amount of nerves. Then Australia began to open up, and then they were hit hard when Zambrano fired them, Colombia, into the lead. But a superb reply with the help of Agostino and Milicic means that Australia go into the half-time break in fine fettle. Quality play, certainly in the last 5 minutes. The game has opened up. It's very much in the balance here, but the half-time score here in Sydney in the opening game is Australia 1 and Colombia 1.